what is Healy all about? So Healy actually has 3 different technologies contained within it. The first one is called microcurrent. Now, microcurrent has been around recently for about 40 years, and there's a lot of science behind microcurrent. Microcurrent works on a physical level. And so there's a lot of information on that, a lot of studies, tons and tons of like, wow, this incredible result, this incredible result, this incredible result just from using microcurrent. So microcurrent is one of the technologies in Healy. And you can see now I'm actually connected to, if you can see my picture there, I've got the bracelet on and I've got some little cables connecting the Healy to myself. So I'm actually running microcurrent right now. And what the microcurrent does is it actually works on the cellular level, and it energizes your cells at a cellular level to bring them back into into balance. So these 2 guys back, these 2 professors here, they actually did a lot of research, and what they found out was that you can actually measure the electrical voltage of a cell. So similar how you measure a battery. You can measure the charge, you've got a voltmeter and you measure the battery. And they found that the inside of the circle, inside of the cell and the outside of the cell actually have a different measurement. And so the difference between the inside and the outside is they call the cell membrane voltage differential. And that they found in a young healthy cell should be about -70 to -90 millivolt. What they found was that as people got older, as they aged, as they got sick and illnesses, is that electrical voltage differential actually reduced. And so you can see here on the chart, for example, like a young healthy cell, about -90. As you're moving up through the chart, like diabetes is about -40. A stage 4 cancer cell is -15. So as a cell gets sicker and weaker, you can actually see the difference, or you can measure the difference in the electrical voltage of the cell. And so logically, it's like, okay, well, if the cell needs to be this voltage and it's not, why don't we just add some voltage back to the cell? And so that's what microcurrent does. Now, the incredible thing about microcurrent is, before I found Healy, actually, a couple of years ago, I watched a documentary on earthing and grounding. And if you got quite a few healers on here, you'd be familiar that, you go to a therapy session and the practitioner afterwards says, go and stand on the grass, go and ground, go and earth your energy. And I mean, I've always done alternative therapy. I've always known that, yes, you're meant to stand on the grass, but I had no idea of the science behind why and what it does. It's incredible. Like, if you actually go and search out some of these documentaries and how standing on the grass, not only does it discharge excess electrical energy from your system into the earth, but you also get a microcurrent from the earth. And that's the benefit of standing on the grass. And you hear people that, say, go and hug trees and go and do gardening and get your hands in the soil. It's because we're actually getting an electrical charge, microcurrent, from the earth. And you think about it, ancestrally, we've grown up living on the earth, being outside for so long, but over the last couple of generations, we live inside, we drive cars, we wear shoes. Like, most of us would be lucky to stand on the grass barefoot for 10 minutes a day, if that, maybe 10 minutes a week for a lot of people. So we really don't get the electrical charge that our body needs anymore. So we're really kind of starved of electricity, to put it bluntly. And imagine being in the desert and no water. It's the same thing with our bodies. We actually need this electrical current, and we're just not getting it anymore because we're not outside enough. And so the Healy actually brings microcurrent back into your cells. So there are other, there's been some microcurrent devices on the market. And so that's why I say, there's research showing, so much research showing that microcurrent is amazing. Now, because it's so new technology, most people haven't heard of it. It's only now just starting to, you talk to a few people, talk to 10 people and 2 people might say, oh yeah, I've heard of microcurrent. I mean, I've studied health and nutrition and alternative things for 30 years, and I hadn't heard of microcurrent. I was like, what do you mean? How can I have not heard of this? And it was like, what? And the more I looked into it, I was like, wow, this is incredible. I connected it with the grounding and the documentaries I'd watched. And, I studied quantum physics 30 years ago when I left high school. It was like, okay, my physics teacher said to me, okay, you've all done great. You've learnt physics. Unfortunately, most of that is now not true. And if you actually want to understand how the world works, go and study quantum physics. So I did that 30 years ago. But I hadn't come across microcurrent. So I was like, okay, if I've not heard of it, there's got to be most people, a lot of people haven't heard of it. So it really It really is an amazing, amazing thing. So what makes Healy so special is that it's got multiple technologies in it. So just a little bit more on the microcurrent. This is a picture of a cell, and you can see the positive and negative electrons around the cell. They should be in the same number, the positive and the negative. And when it's balanced, the cell actually has, it's like a tension. You imagine like when you've got magnets and you know how one end sticks together and the other end kind of repels each other. When you've got that electrical tension, you get a firm round cell that's healthy cell. It can operate and function. And when you lose some of these electrons through sickness and illness and inflammation and all sorts of things, the cell shape sort of squashes in, and you see, you know, if you see blood on a microscope, you know, you see videos and pictures of that, or from high school. If the cells aren't round, they're sometimes a little bit squashy shaped. It's because they haven't got the right electrical charge in them. So when your cell is healthy, it looks like this, it's great. When the cell's not so healthy and it loses electrical energy, these little ion channels here, you might be able to see there's 3 gates showing in the cell. These are basically like a doorway or a gate that actually opens up and lets all of the energy, the oxygen, the nutrition, all of the healthy stuff your cell needs into the cell. And it opens up and lets out toxins out of the cell. So good stuff in, bad stuff out. What happens is that if your cell doesn't have enough electrical charge, imagine it's like the front gate, you know, your electric gate at the front of your house. Normally you press the button, it opens, closes, opens, closes. But if there's not enough electricity, it's like, it can't open enough to actually let all the nutrition and all the good stuff into the cell and let all the bad stuff out. And so what we find is that once people start getting microcurrent, all sorts of things happen. You know, you start getting rid of toxins, you start absorbing nutrition better, you start, the cell just starts to regenerate and heal. And it's really incredible. So one last thing is these little mitochondria down here. You might have heard of the term. Mitochondria have been coming a bit more into the public arena over the last 5 years. A lot more people have heard of it. The mitochondria produce a thing called ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That is like the energy powerhouse of our cell. It's like a battery. We need ATP to function, and the more ATP you've got, like, woohoo, little kids have lots of ATP. They go, 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 and bounce off the walls and don't stop. Old people don't have as much. Once you hit 40, your ATP production actually drops by 25%. Once you hit 60, it drops by another 25%. So it's like, I'm over 40, I need my Healy. Because what Healy does is it actually increases ATP production by up to 500%, which is like, whoa, cool. It's linked in with coenzyme Q10 and a whole bunch of things as to add how energy is actually transported around the cell. But studies have shown that using the microcurrent increases ATP production, increases protein synthesis, and increases amino acid transport. So it's actually really good for you on a physical level. So that's microcurrent.